You are watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV from Toronto, Ontario. I'm Catherine Bullock. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace. Later in the show, we will talk to Sajad Irshad from Islamic Relief in Surrey, British Columbia, about a recent fundraiser for Syrians they held with Shaikh Yasir Qadhi. But first, some news headlines. Canada to release new plan combating foreign interference. 19-year-old autistic boy tasered by Peel police. New children's book highlights role of Muslims in World War I. Palestinians remember leader Yasser Arafat. And now the details. Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says Canadians should consider the geopolitical risks of doing business in China, confirming that a policy reset would be coming within a month. During a talk for the University of Toronto's Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy, Joly said Canada would take a tougher approach to the threats coming from the Indo-Pacific region. The news comes after China is accused of interfering in federal politics in Canada. Joly said that the Canadian government would do more to tackle foreign interference. Joly offered few details on the plan. A 19-year-old autistic and non-verbal boy from Mississauga has been tasered by Peel police for not listening to instructions. Abdullah Darwich had left his house in shorts without his family's knowledge. Neighbours describe a shirtless man playing with leaves. Police responded by tasering the boy at 6 spots. He was handcuffed and his face bloodied. Police told a media source that they responded to a call about a young man in a state of undress attempting to break into a house or vehicle. The boy's father says that in 2020, he added his son's name and other vital information to the Peel Police Vulnerable Persons Registry. Maida Ahmed, a Barrie-based author, is writing her debut children's book about the significant contributions made by Indians and Muslims in the First World War. The book is titled I Remember, a recognition of Muslim loyalty and sacrifice in World War I. It is due to be released in February 2023 and is written as a letter from a girl whose great-grandfather fought in the war. In the book, the little girl asks her great-grandfather questions about leaving his family, traveling thousands of miles by boat, and fighting alongside soldiers who spoke a different language, while preparing separate meals to observe a religious diet. Hundreds of Palestinians today mark the 18th death anniversary of the iconic Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. Palestinians marched towards his shrine in the West Bank city of Ramallah, waving Palestinian flags. Arafat became mysteriously ill and died at the age of 75. Palestinians blame Israel for killing Arafat by poisoning him. France conducted in 2015 an inconclusive investigation that found abnormal amounts of radioactive polonium in his remains. Yasser Arafat was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1994 for his peace efforts in the Middle East. And that's it for the news. Islamic Relief in Surrey, British Columbia held an evening of reflection with Shaikh Yasir Qadhi to raise money for Syria. Today we are joined by Sajad Irshad, one of the organisers, to talk to us about the event. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's our pleasure. Shaikh Yasir Qadhi is a very famous scholar in North America. How did you secure him for your event?
Alhamdulillah, going back to the cause, we were fundraising for the Syrian community, and we've been able to secure many great speakers, including Imam Umar Suleiman, and we do have a process on how we secure these speakers, and alhamdulillah, we were able to secure Yasir Qadhi, given the track record and the amount of content and the knowledge Yasir Qadhi has given back to the community.
Mashallah. I noticed on your website advertising this event that it's called an evening of reflection with, but also that this particular event that you held recently with Shaikh Yasir Qadhi is not the only one, an evening of reflection with. So it seems to be part of a series. Can you tell us why it's called an evening of reflection with?
Yes. With regards to our events, what we do is we also see that aspect where we can give back to the community. In the evening of reflections, not only Yasir Qadhi, we also had our other speakers from the community, like very close community, to come in, and we
Mm.
wanted to have that moment to reflect upon our own community and how the work has been and give back. So that's what we call it, the evening of reflection, along with the fundraising aspect.
So Sheikh Yasir Qadhi or any of the other speakers that you've had, what was his main point? Like what was he getting the community to reflect on?
Great question. So the idea was to think about how the past 2 years have been in our communities, and also to think about what other communities outside of Canada, also domestically, are going through. For example, when you take the fundraiser for Syria, Syria is going to be going into a deep winter, and we wanted people to think about how that would affect their livelihoods. We know there's a conflict that's been going on, and that's what we wanted the community to think about, and also
Mm.
to think about our deen and the religion on those aspects.
Was he drawing on sort of a political story of what's going on with Syria, or a reflection on Quranic verses that might be relevant, or how did he kind of make his story unfold?
Yes, it was definitely a spiritual reflection, and
Mm.
there's a political aspect related to what's going on in Syria. However, the reflection that we had was a Quranic reflection to um, get the community to think about not only about ourselves but also other communities at large, and that was what he was speaking about.
Did you get any feedback? Was it a live in person, or was it an online?
It was a live in-person event where we had more than 800 people come into an event hall.
That's phenomenal. 800 people, mashallah. That's an amazing turnout. You must have been very happy.
Yes, it was a massive success. We had tremendous feedback from the community. That's what makes us happy. And looking at the numbers that we've been able to raise, it was phenomenal. It was one of the most successful events we've had in the past few years.
Well, I'm going to ask you about numbers in a minute, but I just want to dwell a teeny weeny bit longer on this idea of reflection. Did you get any audience member who told you, when Sheikh said this and this and this, it really resonated with me? Like, what are the memorable moments that people shared with you?
Yes, if I think back, there was one of the moments Sheikh mentioned that, you know, when we talk about Jannah and all that, he mentioned that, it's something that it's not something that we earn, but we show God that it's something that we want from Him, and that's something that lots of people mentioned that resonated with them, and it's
Mm.
also connecting to the giving aspect of the community, like all the community members in Canada at large. But that was the one of the most important parts.
Mhm. So then let's talk a little bit about the numbers. You said it was one of the most successful you've had recently. Tell us about the numbers.
Yes. In the event itself, we raised close to 380,000. That was within an hour, and at large, in the total fundraiser, we've raised more than 1 million for the Syrian community for shelter and other requirements they need for this winter.
Well, considering that there's an inflation and with COVID, people have suffered job loss, that's really a very generous response by the local people. Congratulations to you all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward everyone involved.
I mean, Jakallah, it was phenomenal. Like talking about the inflation aspect and what the economy is going through, it was expected. However, this was like the community exceeded the expectations that we had, and the support they have shown us to know that we can count on them to give back not only in Canada but across the world. It's beautiful, and may Allah reward all of them.
May Allah reward all of them. Will the money be spent on Syrian refugees in Vancouver, or for Syrians in Syria or other parts of the world?
Yes. So the fundraising efforts will be for the Syrians in Syria. We do have domestic efforts. We raise funds towards, but however, these specific projects, it's going to be an international project for shelter and other much needed stuff in Syria.
And we saw on the news recently the Syrian regime is bombing refugee camps in a place called Idlib. How do you go about your work in Syria, in the land of Syria, under these conditions?
Islamic Relief has been in Syria for more than 18 years, and it's not an easy job the teams on the ground they do. Yes, we do fundraising in Canada, in the US, across the world. However, the fundraising teams on the ground here, we do what we can do best. However,
Mm.
what they do in Syria, it's not an easy job. But alhamdulillah, we have the support from the community, and that's how we go about our work.
So, have you been and visited any of the Islamic relief projects there?
I've actually visited Islamic Relief projects in Pakistan. I haven't had the opportunity to go to Syria. However, we do have our team right now in Jordan also raising funds towards the Syrian refugees.
Are you able to explain in a little bit more? And maybe it's not possible, but how does the money actually get to Syrians in Syria?
Yes, great question. Islamic Relief Canada and other Islamic Relief offices have a protocol how the money is transferred, and that's handled by an experienced team of like a finance team. So that's how the money is transferred through the banking protocols. But we ensure this money go directly to the Syrians in Syria. And Islamic Relief is part of a organization that has only 10 Canadian charities, and it requires strong financial measures, and Islamic Relief is part of it. And alhamdulillah, we are able to make sure that money goes to Syrians in Syria.
I know that you're a charity and we can't get into political questions, but I just wonder if you hear about the regime bombing a refugee camp, if that makes you nervous that you're doing all this fundraising and you're going to build a project and then the regime is going to get in the way. Are you able to sort of comment on that?
I'd rather not comment on that due to the political aspect of that, but we do the best work we can do, and that's what Islamic Relief is all about. We do want to help in the best way that we can do, but the political aspect is not something that I can comment on.
Understood, understood. So what will be the next steps then? This evening of reflection with, is it an ongoing one? Will you be having another one soon?
Given the success of the event, we also knowing that we can count on the community, we are looking at many other projects. We've also had other specific projects for the Syrian community, but just not for Syria. We've been raising funds for Pakistan. We've been raising funds for Somalia. So these are ongoing projects, but the evening of reflections has been successful. So we are looking forward to host many other events like this.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We really commend you, your team, your efforts in the local community, and we pray that Allah helps and blesses your work and helps the Syrians all over the world. Thanks for joining us.
Jazakallah khair, and I really appreciate you giving us a platform, and thank you for having me.
Why, Yakam, it's a pleasure. Thank you for watching. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe, and God bless.